Welcome to Conversations. I'm Muqtedar, your host, and today I'm going to talk to you about four things. One about G7 summit, where something very important has happened from an Indian point of view, even for the Canadian point of view. You can say there's something important happened. So a brief review of G7 summit, where India and Canadian relations were essentially normalized, or you could say reset. So I will talk a little bit about that. I will also talk about Tulsi Gabbard and what's happening with her here in the US. There seems to be some marginalization of Tulsi Gabbard taking place. I will talk about that. I will also talk about Asim Munir's lunch with Donald Trump. That will be very interesting to talk about. And then I will also talk about the phone call that Prime Minister Modi had with Donald Trump, and there are some controversy about that which is going on, and I will try and explain. So my goal is to explain all of these, shall we say, three to four issues that are taking place. Uh, uh, so let's begin by talking a little bit about what happened in Canada. I must say very clearly that what has happened in Canada is important. Both countries have realized that the Canadian American relationship, the Canadian Indian relationship, really is very, very important. And therefore, it is not surprisingly that as soon as Trudeau's government basically collapsed and Trudeau was replaced by Mike Carney, he decided to go ahead and essentially resume relationships with India. So that is a positive development. But let me let me tell you what the controversy really is. The controversy is that if you looked at the public meeting, so there was a bilateral meeting, and there was, I'm sure, a lot of other discussions going on at the same time. But in the public meeting that we saw, Prime Minister Modi talked about the resetting and the importance of India Canada relations. And he also talked about basically the future things such as artificial intelligence and students and knowledge, etc., which the two work together. But when Carney spoke, in the very first 30 seconds, he said that we have agreed to cooperate on terrorism and transnational repression. He spoke about it right away. So, and he mentioned transnational repression first and then added terrorism as an afterthought. So, the point is that something that I have been making, and lots of people here who have been making, is that there was a delay in inviting Prime Minister Modi to Canada for the G7 summit. India has always been invited. Narendra Modi has been attending since 2018, and prior to that, Manmohan Singh has also attended several meetings of G7. I think that G7 should be expanded to become G8. And India must be included. India is now the fourth or the fifth biggest economy, depending upon how you are calculating it. So if India is the fourth biggest economy and also a democracy, it doesn't make sense to leave India out of G7, because G7 is essentially world's largest economies who happen to be democracies. That's why China is not included. Even though at this particular thing, Donald Trump kind of tried to spoil the mood by saying we need to bring back Russia and China into G7. And he talked about the time when it was G8 and Russia was part of it, and he said it was a mistake to exclude Russia from G8. But I don't know what he means by having Russia and China in G7. Does it mean that we get rid of Canada and Italy, which are the bottom two economies? Or we make it G9, including Russia and China? And then why not G10, including India also? So that is the point that we need to talk about it. So that's one point. But the Canadians were not going to invite Prime Minister Modi and India because they have consistently accused India of not cooperating with their investigation of the murder of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, which who they say is a Sikh activist, a Khalistani advocate, but Indian says that he is a terrorist, is wanted for terrorist activities in India. And so there was this whole dispute about him. And so there was a discussion between the Canadian intelligence and the Indian intelligence. And before Prime Minister Modi was invited, when Prime Minister Carney of Canada called Prime Minister Modi of India, In that conversation, Prime Minister Modi agreed to a bilateral dialogue on law and order, and essentially basically agreed to cooperate with Canada in the investigation of Hardeep Singh Nijjar's murder. It is only and only because of that Canada invited Prime Minister Modi. And Prime Minister Modi, India, after the relationship broke up and they withdrew their ambassadors, etc., India made a lot of noise about how Canada was suppressing, was essentially uh, providing safe haven to terrorists. Canada was like Pakistan, so there are terrorists who from the Canadian soil were attacking India. Canada was protecting these terrorists, so there was no difference between Canada or Pakistan as far as terrorism against India was concerned. So India made all of these allegations as part of its breaking up its relations with Canada and denying that it was anyway involved in Hardeep Singh Nijjar's assassination. But Canada, this issue also made transnational repression and interference, foreign interference, a big deal, in which Canada has accused India, China, Iran, and Russia of interfering in Canadian democracy. And they actually got a statement issued by G7 countries against transnational repression, which I showed you in my previous video. So the point that I'm trying to make is it's a great thing that the two countries have reconciled their relationship and they have sent ambassadors to it, are going to send ambassadors because both belong to the Commonwealth. The ambassadors are called high commissioners. So Canada is going to send a high commissioner to India and vice versa. But let me tell you this much, that India did make concessions to Canada, agreed to cooperate in investigation, which it had been denying until now and refusing to cooperate. They cooperated with the US, did an inquiry because the US caught a guy and locked him up. His name is Nikhil Gupta. So that's the further development on Canada. Let us hope that somehow the two governments, because there's so much at stake, and Prime Minister Carney is right that India is the world's fourth, he called it the fifth biggest economy in the world. It's very important to supply chains. A lot of students from Canada, about 40% of all international students in Canada come from India. There's a lot of temporary workers, migrants who come to Canada. About 4% of the Canadian population is of Indian origin, and so on and so forth. So Canada cannot not have good relations with India, and this particular problem needs to be done away with. I think the Prime Minister Modi's government should stop killing citizens of other countries, especially countries which are allies and democracies. They tried doing this in Canada. They tried doing this in US, where they got caught. They also have done this in Pakistan. They have killed 20, and then nobody got caught. That's fine. But in the Western countries, the Western intelligence agencies are doing a much better job. At least the US has done a much better job. The Canadians were not good enough to either catch anybody or provide evidence to the international community. We will see what happens once their reservation is over. I think if Trudeau was a prime minister and they had completed their investigation, then they would have presented it in the parliament and to the world. But I think Carney will keep it hidden and try to negotiate with India. So that's as far as Canada is concerned. I will finish going through the other 3 points, and then I'll be happy to take your questions and comments. And I also want to share an announcement for some of you. The second thing that I want to talk about is what's happening to Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard is the Director of National Intelligence. So there are about 18 intelligence agencies in the United States, the CIA, the FBI, the FBI Counterterrorism, DEA, which is a Drug Enforcement Agency, the Defense Intelligence Agency, which is DIA. Then you have the National Security Agency, the NSA. You have Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines. All of them have intelligence. You have an intelligence in the State Department also. I think it's called IRB. I've actually consider that as much more effective because it is smaller but much more focused than all of these big agencies. So there are about 18 intelligence agencies who are constantly providing intelligence. And it now, during 9/11, we knew that something like 9/11 was going to happen, but the information, some was with CIA, some was with FBI, some part of it was with NSA, so we didn't get the full picture. But now the purpose of DNI is to collate all information, process it, summarize it, and present it to the president. And that's what Tulsi Gabbard did on March 25th when she told the US Senate that Iran had given up its nuclear program in 2003. It has not been pursuing nuclear weapons since 2003. Yes, it had a lot of more than what normally non nuclear powers have when it comes to semi enriched uranium, but it doesn't. But then she went on to say it didn't. So Donald Trump was very unhappy. He was asked about it in Canada. He says she can say whatever she wants. I don't think so. And he dismissed not just Tulsi Gabbard, but he dismissed the entire US intelligence. And so, how does he know? I mean, he's listening to Netanyahu or the Israeli lobby. I don't know how he knows that Iran was on the verge of getting nuclear weapons when the entire US intelligence community did not think so, unless he thinks that Tulsi Gabbard was distorting the information and misrepresenting the intelligence that agencies were gathering. I can assure you if that was the case, somebody would have leaked it to the press and we would know that Tulsi Gabbard is lying. So we cannot assume that she's lying. On Sunday, at Camp David, Donald Trump had an important emergency meeting before he went to Canada for the G7 summit. Uh, and Tulsi Gabbard was not invited. And so lots of people made a lot of noise about it, including Steve Bannon. And apparently today, Tulsi Gabbard met with Donald Trump this morning uh, before Asim Munir's lunch. So it is quite possible that Donald Trump came back from Canada to enter the war against Iran. And it is quite possible. And here I'm telling you, this is where I'm speculating that Tulsi Gabbard was forceful enough to communicate to Trump that the intel that he has is wrong and the US government's intel is more valid. And perhaps that's one of the reasons why Donald Trump has not yet entered the war against Iran, even though all the assets have moved, an entire aircraft carrier and its attendees group and aircraft has gone. So there are now two aircraft carrier groups right there. They moved about 30 refueling jets, jet refuelers. So the US is ready to go against Iran, but Trump has not given a go ahead. The military is ready, but Trump is not. And it could be because of Tulsi Gabbard. So I think this is an important meeting they had. I wish there was more information available publicly for us to talk about what Tulsi Gabbard and Trump talked about. Now, coming to the phone call between Prime Minister Modi and stuff. So, as you all know, Trump left early and came here after the first day, and it's quite possible that he now finds G7 unbearable because most of the other countries there in G7 are not in sync with the US, especially with Donald Trump, and Trump himself now considers them as far more irrelevant. He hasn't gone to Europe except for the I don't know. He went to France for the World War II thing, but anyway, Donald Trump came back early, and so he could not meet with Prime Minister Modi at the G7 summit, and so Modi called him, spoke with him. So, sorry, I think Trump called Modi. Anyway, what happened? The two of them spoke for 35 minutes, in which, according to Indian readouts, Prime Minister Modi told Donald Trump that India did not seek mediation. India has never sought mediation, and India does not seek mediation in the future. Now, this was after Trump had said 15 times publicly that he had played a role in bringing about ceasefire between India and Pakistan, which Indian government has consistently denied. Now, in India, this particular phone call is being interpreted as Prime Minister Modi telling Donald Trump that you are wrong. We didn't do the ceasefire because of you. We did it because Pakistan requested a ceasefire because they had had enough. India was beginning to dominate. But I think that Trump said it, and of course, Trump then said it again when he met with Munir, and he said that, I brought about this ceasefire between two nuclear powers, and on India's side, it was Modi who stopped the war. And Pakistan side, it was Asim Munir who stopped the war. I spoke with Modi in the morning. I have Asim Munir here for dinner. I'm honored that he's here for lunch, and so on and so forth. So Trump repeated for the 16th time that he had played a critical role in bringing about ceasefire between India and Pakistan. So how do we understand this? So let's give the benefit of doubt to Modi and to Trump both. So I think what Modi is saying and the way Americans are interpreting is mediation on the Kashmir issue. India has always maintained that it should be a bilateral issue, and therefore India doesn't want Donald Trump mediating the Kashmir crisis, uh, uh, and so India is not going to accept Donald Trump's mediation. That's probably how the Americans have interpreted it. That doesn't mean that Trump is not responsible and therefore will not take credit, will definitely take credit for bringing about the ceasefire, because Marco Rubio and JD Vance did make phone calls to both sides and then they stopped. So that is how I can reconcile both of them, unless we simply say that Donald Trump is continuing to lie or the Indian government is quite coy about it, right? Prime Minister Modi can simply go have a press conference. He can just say it to publicly, straight up. Why use misery? Why use this and that? And Donald, why don't we have a video of Prime Minister Modi saying the ceasefire happened because Pakistan made the phone call and not because of Donald Trump? Period. That would set the whole thing down, right? We don't have that. We have Jai Shankar, we have Misri, the foreign secretary, a lot of other people talking about it, but not Modi. And Trump keeps insisting again and again and again, 15 times now, 16 times now, that he brought about ceasefire. In fact, let's talk about my last point now about Asim Munir, who was invited for lunch at the White House. It is a very, very rare thing. I think this has never happened before, that a Pakistani chief of military or anybody else who was invited for lunch with the president at the White House without civilian leadership. So I think the first thing is that we have to recognize that Donald Trump is acknowledging that Asim Munir, the military guy, is the main boss of Pakistan and not the elected Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. So that is the point, first of all. To meet Asim Munir and not Shehbaz Sharif itself, is that America is recognizing and signaling that they see Pakistan as a military dictatorship and not as a democracy. But he was very effusive and very supportive, because Asim Munir apparently said that Donald Trump is responsible for calling the ceasefire and stopping the nuclear war, the war becoming a nuclear war, and therefore Donald Trump should receive a Nobel Prize. Asim Munir has really played to Donald Trump's ego, and Donald Trump is absolutely thrilled that, yes, I have this particular player who's endorsing it. The only guy who's spoiling the whole thing is Modi now, right? So Donald Trump is very happy. He brought him. He said he's a very honorable man. I'm very happy. He's a very strong person. And it is because of his wisdom and Modi's wisdom that we did not have a nuclear war. So Pakistan has really collected brownie points on this issue, no doubt about it. Donald Trump is pretty happy that at least now there is one major global leader who is calling for a Nobel Prize for him. So, and one thing is also very clear, that apparently the Trump administration is serious about trying to win a Nobel Prize for him. They have got 3.5 years. Even though there's no ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine, there is no ceasefire between Israel and Palestine, there is no ceasefire between Israel and Iran. There are so many wars going on. But I have a feeling that if in the next year or so, if all of these wars simmer down and there is ceasefire, then Trump is going to take credit for all of them, and there will be massive lobbying for a Nobel Prize for Donald Trump. All right, so those are the 4 points that I wanted to make. I do want to share something with all of you, and it is, let me share it. Give me 1 second. I have to go to my PowerPoint. Here it is. This is for those who are members of Khanversations. I have on Sunday, June 22nd, 12 o'clock my time, 9:30 p.m. India time, I will have a Zoom conference for 1.5 hours, depending upon how many people show up and how much stamina you guys have, that we will have a meeting of members. So members for my channels will be invited. I will be posting the invitation to this in the post section. So if you go to every YouTube channel now, you will see videos, shorts, live, and then post. So if you click on post, then you will see this, and you will also see the Zoom link if you are a member. I will also post their links for you to become a member. If you want to become a member, it's not very expensive. So just join and become a member of Khanversations, and then we can have a face-to-face Zoom meeting at least once a month, and it's going to be this Sunday on the 22nd of June at noon, New York time, 9:30 p.m. India time, 9 o'clock Pakistan time, 10 o'clock 10 p.m. Bangladeshi time. I don't have any members from Bangladesh or Pakistan. Most members are Americans, and I have people from Hong Kong and other places, but there's nobody from Pakistan yet. I think there's one on the other channel, but we will see. So anyway, that's the only announcement I wanted to make, and now I'll be happy to see your comments and ask questions. Uh, how many Muslim members of parliament in the BJP government? Zero, zero. Mark Weber. Uh, so India is not a full democracy. It's a struggling democracy if you go to the democracy index. But the same is true about the United States. How many members in the US cabinet who are Muslims? None. So does that mean that the US is not a democracy? So that is the same thing is true. The British, I think, have two. In fact, I think the chancellor is their finance equivalent. So the British have. I don't think that no, the Canadian government also has one. So, but anyway, there is no Muslim in the Trump cabinet either. MM Khan, hello sir. Sujesh Singh, the invitation was delayed to placate the left. Okay, uh, but but from everything that we are reading and we are hearing Carney say these things very clearly, the left is not placated. They are still very upset. You saw the Khalistanis protest. You saw everybody else on the left protest. Invitation to Modi did late. Just invitation to Modi has upset the left. Just giving it late or early does not make any difference. So I think I think that is an unacceptable excuse. That doesn't make sense at all. It was delayed because Modi didn't think that Canada would dare not invite India, the big, Vishwa Guru, etc. And then when they realized that, oh my God, they're not inviting, this is going to be such a great embarrassment. Remember, India's image doesn't matter. Modi's image matters more than India's image. So they sacrificed India's interests. He didn't say a word about Khalistanis, about Canada supporting terrorists against India. Not a word in public. It's Indian media that is saying all of this rubbish, but not Modi. But Carney said it in his press conferences when he was asked, why did you invite Modi? He said it very clearly that Modi has agreed to a bilateral agreement to follow the rule of law. And that's why we invited him. And then again, he said it on Modi's face that we have agreed to cooperate on transnational repression, which means Modi has agreed to cooperate on the Hardeep Singh Nijjar murder case, which he had denied in the past and would not cooperate at all. So India changed its position, and then Modi got an invitation. And there is no two ways about it. The whole world understands it that way. And I think I'm actually going to write an article to make sure that this thing sticks out there. But nobody else, except in some Indians, are adamant that he delayed this for Khalistan or whatever. That's nonsensical. Sekhan, not necessarily. That is not true. There are no Air Force bases. There's no way Pakistan is going to allow Israel to fly out of Pakistan. Imagine if somebody took one photograph, there would be like crazy nuts blowing up Pakistan from there. All they have like hundreds and thousands of radical groups there. There's no way Pakistan would allow Israel to take off from there. I'm convinced that so far Pakistan has not played any role in Iran. Shehbaz Sharif just announced that Iran is a brotherly state. I can tell you that much. So this theory in India that the only reason why Trump is being nice to Pakistan is because they need Pakistan for the Iran purposes. No, they were being nice to Pakistan even before that. Since Operation Sindoor, Trump has raised both India and Pakistan on the same level. He talks about Shehbaz Sharif and Modi. He talks about Asim Munir and Modi now as if they are on the same level. The whole re-hyphenization has happened. In fact, India's entire diplomatic mission, nobody in India is asking. I am probably the first commentator who's telling you this, that Shashi Tharoor's trip was a total waste. Within 10 days of Shashi Tharoor coming here and doing diplomacy in which it labeled Pakistan a terrorist state and all of that, the president of the United States is having lunch, is honoring Asim Munir and calls him an honorable man. That is failure of Indian diplomacy. But of course, a lot of you will not even understand that. Forget about accepting it. I understand that. Uh, Sujesh Singh. Well, if you don't like my analysis, but I appreciate that you continue to give me time. And please watch the ads also so I can make some money also while you are here. Thank you for watching. Waqas Rana sir, Pakistani people liked you a lot. भले आप हमें बुरा भला कहे repost Waqas, I think if Pakistan claims to be a Muslim state and is based on Islamic values, then it has to have far more ethical standards than what it has right now. My problem with Pakistan is that if Pakistan says we are a Pakistani state like any other state, I have no problem. You can do whatever you like. But if you say I'm an Islamic state, because I'm a Muslim, you are also connecting it to me. And therefore, I want you to exemplify Islamic values. And that is not manifest in the corruption that you have, in the kind of leaders you elect. I mean, chore, some of them are thieves. How can you have leaders who are thieves? So that's why I'm very upset with Pakistan. And then, of course, this use of terrorism, which has not helped Pakistan at all. In fact, Pakistan is the biggest victim of terrorism now. As General Kurilla said, from January 2024 till now, there have been 1,000 attacks of terrorism on Pakistan. There's a lot of rubbish coming from people. Okay, Waqas, 90% Pakistan loves India, sir, but 90% India hated Pakistan. Why? Well, it is the Hindutva agenda. I mean, they're trying to create. Pakistan created a state for Muslims in 1947. And now BJP and RSS are trying to create a state for Hindus about 75, 80 years later. They are doing the same thing that you guys did in 1940s. So they want a state, a homeland for Hindus. They said, okay, you had a two-nation theory, which Asim Munir repeated just recently in his speech, that Hindus and Muslims can't live together. How can that be? We have been living together with Hindus in the last 75 years. I have lived the first 30 years of my life with Hindus. I have Hindus in my family. So this is rubbish. So, but there are some Hindus now who want to say, okay, we also believe in two-state theory. You got Pakistan, you go to Pakistan. Pakistan ya Khabristan is a slogan for Muslims, and Hindustan is for Hindus. Pakistani should have no problem in understanding what the agenda of RSS and BJP is. They want to create a Hindu state. They have got an opportunity after 1,000 years, they think, and their window is shrinking because they're worried about the demographics. They think if they don't do it now, in another 20, 30, 40 years, Muslim population will increase, and then it will be impossible for them to create a Hindu state. Forget about creating a Hindu state. They may not be able to win elections. If Muslims become 30, 40%, Muslims are about 15% of India's population, and BJP struggles to win. Right now, the current government of BJP does not have an absolute majority. It has partnerships with two parties, one from Bihar and one from Andhra Pradesh. Otherwise, they still can't win with Modi and everything, that so much of propaganda that they do with regards to Modi. Kamal Sharma, along with Asim Munir, DGISI is also present in Washington. Yeah, I think there's something cooking there. I was trying to find out who all Asim Munir met before, because this meeting with Asim Munir was not planned. This didn't happen. I think Asim Munir was very smart in endorsing Donald Trump for the Nobel Prize, which then triggered that thing. But who else is he meeting? What are these military to military negotiations going on? I don't think it is about Iran. If it was just about Iran, then the Saudis and others would also be heavily involved. Dominus, Amin, to what you're saying. Let peace reign. All right. So since there are no more comments or questions, I will be happy to take a break. I'm going to do another show in half an hour on my other channel. The channel is Khanversations 2025, but that show will be in Hindi and Urdu, and I will be talking about these same issues. So, for all of you, thank you very much for watching. Allah Hafiz wa Qasrana for watching Conversations. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, share this video with others. Try and become a member of Conversations if you can. It's not very expensive at all. It's very, very cheap. It's not even $1, and you can become a member of Conversation, support the channel, but it also gives you the privilege so that we can talk face to face. That's one of the highlights of becoming a member. And my next meeting is on Sunday 22nd, and you will see the announcement after I finish the second show. I will be posting the announcement. I also have two more shows that are already recorded, which will be airing in the next few hours. I have an interview with Ambassador Ketan Shukla, who's talking about G7 and the Middle East. And then I have a solo on OIC as to how influential and powerful it is and how divided it is. So, anyway, thank you for watching. I'm your host, Muqtedar Khan. Take care. Bye.